Dave, another summer, it's come around quick, and is this possibly the biggest summer of cricket we've seen, given it starts on Sunday and the Ashes are still a couple of weeks away?
Yeah, I think Brendan McCullum said something about it's the biggest thing in our lives. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. There's a lot more that's going on in the world than that. But it's going to be massive. I think it's going to be huge summer of cricket. I think with the doubt of Pat Cummins, the Australian captain, it's going to make it even more, I think, even, I feel. But look, it's an Ashes campaign, first test over in the West. I know I'm pumped, and every single person here from Fox is as well.
Obviously, it's a blow if he's not there, and it's looking likely that'll be the case. How much does that tip the scales in England's favour?
Oh, massive. I think if you look in the past 5-6 years with the way that Pat's taken that ball upon himself outside his second spell and used his airspeed to bowl that short pitch deliveries and take wickets that way, who else is there to do that? Who's there to take that role? Scott Boland's a fantastic bowler, line and length. Probably doesn't have the airspeed that Pat does. Josh Hazlewood will just do Josh's things. And Starkey, you need him to keep swinging the ball. And, I think that hole, that void that, has to be filled there is going to be a tough one for the Australians. They're going to heavily rely on probably someone like, Greeny if he's up and ready to bowl. I know he probably only averages 10 overs a game, but is he able to do that? We don't know yet. That's obviously in the camp there. They're keeping that quite hush-hush. But if he can do that and play that role, then it'll be great for Australian cricket. But, it's going to be a big miss to have him come out.
And the same question as this time last year. They still can't find a permanent replacement for David Warner at the top of the order. Who is it this time around in your view?
Well, I'm 100% unavailable. Look, Marnus has obviously come out of the blocks very well. He scored 100 in the Shield and then backed it up in the one-day game. I think when you've got, a lot of Test cricket under your belt, you know what he's capable of and know what he can do. Someone who's averaging 50, I think, in Test cricket, you probably got to go back to that. Does he open? I wouldn't like to see him open. I like to shuffle back down to 3. And then that just opens up who else goes where. And that's the tougher decision that the Australian selector is going to have to do. Young Sammy Constance, he scored that 100 in the Australian A Series. I thought he batted outstanding there. I don't think we've seen exactly what we know Sam Constance can do. I think last year coming out, he probably got overwhelmed by the occasion, and we saw some very highlighted cricket. But I know I've seen him build innings. I've seen him play some fantastic innings, and I'd like to see him go back to just doing that. They don't have a Jasprit Bumrah, so he doesn't have to worry about that. They've got some fast bowlers, but he can tackle that. So I like them to try and probably stick with, with Sam and give him a crack. Because at the end of the day, I know it's a short-term fix if they want to try and find someone else. I know that they were mentioning, Mitch Marsh and Josh Inglis. But yet again, there's no reason why Sam Constance can't do that role.
I don't know how long he's going to play on, but he's obviously getting close to the end of his career to try and find someone who can bear establish when that time comes.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's going to be a challenge for the selectors moving forward. Do they go with two newbies, or do they stick with Sam, give him 5-10 test matches? And I think it's upon all of us to keep encouraging him. I know it's your job's to write stories and create headlines, but for a young kid it's very difficult. And I see that bravado with him. I see that confidence. I see him taking it on, and it's hard to come back from that. We've lived that. I can understand and feel what he's going through. It's exciting. As a 21-year-old guy playing cricket for Australia, I feel like I'm a rock star. It's going to have that repercussion as well when you do get dropped. So, look, they're going to have to, I think, find a replacement for Uzi as well. It's going to be a challenge the next 5 years to see who's going to cement that spot. There's a lot of good young cricketers that are coming through. A lot of cricketers coming through, and I had a short burst with him last year at the Thunder. Hugh Webgen, I think he's going to be a good prospect for the future. Not just yet, but I think he's probably one name that you could see at the top of the order potentially, even though he's been batting in the middle order.
David, just exciting in the last few weeks with the Thunder, with Asher coming down. Are you excited by the challenge of leading him and working with him for the season?
Yeah, most definitely. I do now know that we're probably not going to fix that wicket out at Homebush and it's going to turn square. So I think we've got 4 spinners. So, look, it's exciting. It's exciting for our community out at Homebush. It's exciting, the first ever Indian player to come out and play the BBL. I think that in itself speaks volume of where the BBL stands in the franchise cricket world. I'm excited to play with him. I played a lot against him. I will say for us it's fortunate he didn't get picked up in the ILT20, so now we've got him for the whole summer, and I know what he brings to the team. I know the attitude that he brings. He wants to help, he wants to educate, and his experience is second to none, and I can't wait to be an ear in that change room and listen to his craft and how he goes about things.
The white ball series against India starts this weekend. No doubt some of the IPL franchises will be keeping an eye on that series. Is this a chance for the likes of Mitch Owen and some of those pretty players to put their hand up for the auction, which is coming up pretty quickly?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think the hardest thing about the guys who have done so well the last 12 months is the second year sort of syndrome that everyone starts talking about. I've got no doubt that these Australian cricketers that have done well the last 12 months will go on and do bigger and better things. And I hope they keep playing the brand of cricket they do play and don't change that just because there's been big dollars spoken about and there's a lot more pressure. You just got to stick to the basics, keep being you, and don't change your game. So look, I'm excited to see what Australians get picked up and how much money they can make, and I want every single Australian player to be better than all the other countries, and more of our guys get picked up because there's too many other guys getting picked up for my liking.
Dave, I know there's been a lot of talk about Sam and Marnus, but one guy kind of flying under the radar a bit is Matt Renshaw. In the ODI squad, had a good start to summer. Is he someone as well with that mature age, having that experience at Test level, who could come back into consideration for that Test as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I think when you first look at the way that he's changed his setup, he used to step across and probably was off balance quite a bit. Went away for a couple of years and learnt sort of how to get that prelim fixed. I've always had it in my mind that he'll be an opening batsman in one-day cricket, and I think he'll be a very good. He's got that Matthew Hayden presence. He's got the game to take it on. You've seen in the Big Bash what he can do through that middle period, and I think long term, I think he could be that person who could be in the top order for Australian white ball cricket for sure for a long time. He's got to keep scoring runs in red ball. And that's obviously at the top of the order. So if he can do that, he can squeeze his way in. He's played Test cricket, he's scored hundreds, and he's got that hunger and determination to score big hundreds.
The roller coaster you've been on the last 12 months, how easy and how close do you think it is to be able to strike that balance as far as the batter goes, and between the guy who did what he was and the guy who scored the runs early last summer or missed that last one?
I can speak for myself in terms of how to work and sort of get your head around that. I played 7 one-day games, got dropped, right, coming from 2020 cricket. I didn't know how to play one-day cricket. I just thought it was the same as 2020 cricket. And then I went and played red ball, started opening the batting in red ball cricket, got a couple of hundreds, and then played Test cricket as an opening batter. I found that my Test cricket helped my one-day batting. I batted the same way. And I think if he can just stick to finding a balance of tempo. Last year I felt like he just got caught up in the occasions. He got caught up in thinking that it was the only way to play that way against Bumrah and then did it to the other players. I don't think he needed to change his game to the other bowlers. He could have just stayed there and just played the normal way. There was one guy that was getting a lot of people out and one guy that he didn't fear him, but he just didn't want to get out to him because he was bringing the ball back in. He countered that and he could have went back in and just batted normally. So I think if he can work out that and identify those periods, I think he'll go a long way.
Is it easy?
No, it's not, because when you're out there, you get overawed by the occasion. The crowd's pumping you up. You want to entertain 90,000 people at the MCG, Boxing Day. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And, if he can learn to calm his nerves a bit. And look, he's got Uzi up the other end. Uzi used to do that to me all the time. And I know Uzi would have been doing that to him. But I think with a new guy coming in, you're probably at the other end going, you know what, just let him go, say nothing. And you learn that with batting with someone. That's a partnership, and that's where I think you need to keep that stability there. And if he does stay there, they'll work very well together.
Have you considered reaching out to Sam and maybe offering some advice on dealing with scrutiny in the middle of the MCG?
Look, I've spoken to him a fair few times over the last 12 months. He's got a great mentor in Shane Watson. He does a lot of work with him. And I think in time it will help. I think with Sammy, the most important thing for him is to try and work out and identify around in his inner circle the people who aren't just pumping him up all the time. You got to come back a little bit, and it's hard because we've all been through it. We've all our circle of friends have all come and condensed. You know, it's just one of those things that comes with the game. Everyone wants to pump you up. But when things start getting difficult, who's in your corner? And they're questions I haven't asked him. They're probably questions, you know, probably Shane has been working with him to say, mate, have you identified any of that yet? And then you can stick by that and just, you know, have a reference point from here, from time to time. And that's what you need at this level. You need someone you can go back to and tell you the hard, honest truth. And I hope they've got those people in this corner.
Davey, they say styles make fights. Is it the Baz ball or the Australian way? What style wins out this Ashes? Who's under most pressure?
The Australian way, because we're playing for the Ashes and they're playing for a moral victory. There's your headline.